Okay, well, first of all, thank you, Chair Henkener, for making time for me. I think that these one-on-one sessions have proven to be very productive, but mostly very effective in what I hope to complete when submitting my the Tech Enhancement Program application for the area commissions at the end of the month. So I'm really looking forward to hearing lots of valuable input from you. But one of those things is I think that this presents an opportunity for us all to provide our input so that we can leverage this technology. And, you know, it's not often that the city taps on our shoulders and says, hey, we're going to spend money on you. What would you like it to go to? So in order to get everybody's input and how this could be best utilized by the area commission, I thought it was important to include a conversation by the chairpersons. And so, and I know that you're always, the election committee is ever evolving. We've had to make a couple of adaptations to the process with the COVID-19 protocol and the special elections and everything else. And we've just kind of had to be very amendable. And sometimes I think if we have technology, it might make those unforeseen occurrences a little bit easier. So I want you to bear all of that in mind. And let's just operate under the assumption that the 2021 election is going to be under COVID-19 protocol. So if we can kind of keep that in our frame of mind. And what I'll do is I'll actually pull up, do you have a copy of that application in front of you?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Nor do I wish to have an idea of what you're talking about, but my dog is joining us. I just thought I would.
Well, I've kind of had to scoot this little girl. Yeah, she's right here just off camera because she has not given her permission to be audio or video recorded. So, it's the Area Commission Technology Enhancement Program application that I sent with my initial email asking you for one-on-one time.
Ah, okay.
The context of the email gives 4 talking points as to how we might be able to construct putting in that application. So let me just review with you, and I'll go ahead and screen share this with you. Screen share. Share, and this is the application. Okay. So if you'll, can you see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let's see if I can blow that up a little bit. Is that good?
It's good.
Okay, so this is an application that was generated to all of the area commissions in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. And what this does is, it has been, City Council approved a budget to allocate funding for the use of improved technology to be granted to the area commissions for ease of communication. And so it is to assist the area commissions in their ability to communicate with and engage residents by leveraging new technology, to help area commissions hold efficient and effective meetings, and to promote the use of social media, websites, and other forms of electronic communication as tools for organizing and engagement. So that's the 3 reasons that they've allowed this program. And then page 2 of that application is a little bit of a survey. And of course, I think that Clintonville has been, our area commission was well ahead of the game. We didn't miss a beat. The only thing that we missed is we had our March meeting 1 week on the 2nd week of March rather than the 1st week of March, because that's when I think everything was just announced on the Wednesday prior to our meeting. So we, had a little bit of a lag, but otherwise we didn't miss anything. And just like we've talked about in the meetings, is that we came up with a 100% contact-free election, and it was due in part to just the commission being amendable, and in large part to a successful outcome of that was your leadership. And so what we want to do is we just kind of want to project and be mindful of the 2021 election in the event that it is COVID-19 protocol still in place. And we want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for success, provided this opportunity for technology enhancement from the city. So the page, second page, we're being surveyed. They're asking, like, where are we right now? So of course, I'm going to truthfully fill out this application and say that we use these social media platforms. We've held Zoom meetings. We're using a Zoom virtual meeting room, and so on and so forth, and fill in that survey. And then the third gives us a matrix of those items that we might be able to use that funding for. So it talks about everything from hardware and software, a laptop, different software applications, a projector screen, a projector, Microsoft Office suite, that kind of thing. So I guess in light of our experience over the past year, I wanted to meet with all of the fellow commissioners and the chairpersons to discuss how we might be able to formulate our ask, our request, wrapped around very specific needs that you might have. And that's completely allowing time today for your input. So I know that you've probably prepared some information, so I'm just going to let you go ahead and construct your input provided around this frame of reference. And I'm gonna stop sharing if that's okay. And I'm just gonna take some notes, okay?
Okay, well, first of all, I haven't prepared anything really. We're not a big user of technology. I think our biggest use is kind of getting the word out about the elections and, you know, some information about candidates. And so we don't do that directly. We do that through the website and through calls to, you know, old-fashioned phone calls to the booster or This Week and to Spotlight. So all in all, we're pretty low tech. I cannot see us doing voting by machine or anything like that. I don't think I think that would be more trouble than what it was worth. And I see a very low tech approach to the actual voting. To do an electronic vote is not something that's even on my radar screen necessarily. So it's kind of like the old-fashioned little paper ballots. We can use the for committee meetings. You know, certainly doing the Zoom meeting was ideal.
Okay.
Whether we needed to do that or not is probably the best way to do it. And since public disclosure requires us to do something like that, that's perfectly fine. I think everybody was very comfortable with our Zoom meeting.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the relaxed rules for the commissioner candidate nominating petition. I know that this year we relaxed rules. We went from 50 signatures to 5 signatures, and that rule was kind of put out there very soon before those petitions were due. And I think by the time by the time you had implemented that rule, I had already had 50 signatures. So has there been any thought given to, I know in our last meeting, we discussed as a commission, we discussed the possibility of maybe doing some type of an electronic petition with electronic signatures. And I know that you had some question about verifying those signatures and the reliability of being able to verify them. So
actually, my concern had more to do with the votes than with the signatures on the petition. We were, our recommendation, or our first thought, it's not even a recommendation, it's our first thought, was maybe to lower the number. Not everybody is going to have an email list of most of the people in their district, and it's going to be very difficult for everybody to do what you had done. People are going to have to develop an email list, and they're going to have to cold call people.
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of a different situation than a commissioner trying to come back, because these were new candidates,
right,
and people trying to come back.
Right.
So I think we can still verify signatures on the petition. We can call people because we're asking for a phone number on the petition, or people can send you an email saying, please consider me having signed your petition, you know, Sally J. Smith. And from that, and if you copy that email off, we have their email address. We can go back to a sampling of people and say, did you really do this? So I think that's pretty well okay. It's more how you do votes and make sure that the votes are actually coming from the person that they claim to be coming from. I guess vote by email. I am hoping that by May we are going to be outside again, and that it would be possible to have a in-person voting as well as the mail-in. I did check with the University Area Commission on their website. I didn't talk with anybody, but on their website, and they had their election was the beginning of November, just a couple weeks ago, and they did it totally in-person outdoors. They set up in their parking lot, and if you wanted to vote, you had to show up between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and that was it. They didn't even have the, you know, we have in-person early voting and in-person regular voting. They didn't even have the in-person early voting. So you were there between 10 and 2 on Saturday, or you didn't vote. I'm not sure we're ready to hop all the way over to that, being that our voters are used to having some options. The signature the identification has mostly to do with the mail-in ballots. And, you know, Commissioner Votero suggested very reasonably that we try to simplify our process, but every simplification makes it easier to do something nefarious with that. Not that we have nefarious people in Clintonville, but who knows?
So
that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
I'm open to a lot of things, and I don't run, you guys run, you know what's hard, you know what's easy. I can imagine how COVID impacts you, but I don't know how it really does because I never ran.
Well, here would be my suggestion is when we are, and I really truthfully, I think that the election committee, and with your concerted effort with the tech and PR chairperson, Ty Hulbert, I think that you guys have synthesized a lot of very positive outcomes from wanting to optimize community engagement, generating some enthusiasm and some excitement about the CAC, informationally and educationally. I think that there was a lot of awareness that was done from your committee to be able to show that spike in numbers that we had for the one election of, was it 2019 is where we had the record number of participants?
2017, it was okay. District 2.
Okay, all right.
I think Cara Nimitz, and I don't remember. Brown. Yeah, I don't remember who her opponent was, but
Ryan Brown.
Okay, and that election, we did our nominal stuff, but that was the candidates. I mean, they were out there working that district and working that district and working that district, and so I think that's, you know, we can do some nominal stuff, but you know, not that many people read the spotlight, not that many people, you know, in comparison to the size of Clintonville, we aren't reaching a whole lot of people, even though we do some, you know, we put a poster up at Kroger's, you know, we can do that kind of stuff. But as you know, that's only going to get to a small portion of our intended audience. So it really makes a difference when you have excited candidates.
Yeah, well, I know that 2 years ago we did have a lot of very positive turnout, but when you surveyed those who showed up to vote, most of them said, I think it wasn't even marginal. Most of them said, I knew that today was voting day because of the sign in front of the library.
Which means you have to have seen the sign, which means you have to be there.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah. So, but we, you know, I don't think that, you know, I think it's in the community's best interest to be able to generate enthusiasm for one's candidacy, but to let people know that there's an open seat to, and I don't know if the onus is on the election committee to let people know of those open positions, or I just, you know, I honestly, I think that's at the point that we need to start the election, you know, generating enthusiasm, the community engagement piece, and how maybe could we do that using our social media platforms, our website, and anything else. You know,
I think we have done that. You know, we've had the articles in the newspaper, the articles in the booster, or this week we've had the article in the spotlight. We've had articles and announcements on the website, and there was a social media, which I'm not I don't even do that, but anyway. Ty was doing that. Since we have Ty over there, you know, he can hook into all of the ones that normally kind of percolate to the top of your brain as being ideas. Other than stopping people on High Street and forcing them to read the article, I'm not sure what you do.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you.
Ideas, but I don't think we should be stopping people on High Street, forcing them to read articles.
In the past 2 years, the booster has had 5 writers. And
it's been a little challenging. Chase the writer, yeah.
And I don't know if you are aware of this, but do you read the booster?
Do I read it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. I get the reaction, so I get it. It comes in every Thursday.
Yeah, and so I've been tracking it over the past several months. And how many news blurbs or news items are directly related to Clintonville?
Fewer and fewer. If I give them something, however, that's already written up, it will likely get published.
Yes, but I mean, I open things up.
An article, they're going, it's an article, and they publish it.
Yeah, I see news blurbs out of Westerville. I see news blurbs out of Northland. I see news blurbs out of Powell. It's not a Clintonville-centric newspaper, and they're just filling space. In fact, 5 of my neighbors just this year who snowbird in Florida, 5 of them had painted at the bottom of their driveway, no paper, so that they would not leave a paper at their driveway. So it's really not the community publication that it once was. And I really think that we haven't had that intact since Kevin Parks retired. So I'm sorry.
I think that's right. Kevin Parks was the last person who actually would write something up. I mean, I could talk to him on the phone and he would write it up. I don't trust that anymore. I send them something already written up.
And the difference with Cliff Wiltshire and the Clintonville Spotlight is that is in fact a Clintonville community newspaper. But Cliff tries not to be, political. He doesn't really dabble in political topics. So, that's not really what he's after in the community spirit. And it's also subscription based. So for somebody to see the Clintonville Spotlight, they have to be a paid subscriber. And that's sort of the issue that, yes, it's a community-based newspaper and there's a lot of stuff in there written about Clintonville, but it's subscription-based. And I think that, and it's not a free publication. And I think that it would be very difficult for us to, get a media release. I mean, every month when I publish the agenda, I send out an email to whoever the writer of the day is for the booster and to Cliff. And I send him agendas and I send them Zoom meeting links and they're never in attendance. So I think that the press is very apathetic towards the Clintonville Area Commission. And I think if we were to do media releases, I think the good in that is that we can wash our hands of it and say we tried our best to release this information to the media and we released it on this date, but there's really no promises that there's going to be anything written up about it. Kevin Parks was just a gift. He just had a lot of zeal for this community. He got to know people. He would call me up almost weekly. Before I was a chair, he would call me up and say, what's going on in District 9? And he knows that he could always, he knew what my hot buttons are, the bus stop advertising benches and that kind of thing. He always had, something to kind of ask and put out there. So, honestly, I don't know how reliable the press is going to be. So, but we can keep doing what we've been doing. And, if nothing else, we can wash our hands of it and say, well, we released it. The Spotlight only publishes once a month. So we've got to have our act together well in advance so that we can make a publishing cutoff date and to even give them worthwhile consideration. So I know that they only publish once a month, and where is that going to fall in line with the election timeline? So we've got to be mindful of that. And, as we approach the new year's, the flip of the calendar, when that election timeline starts in February and, where people are starting to pick up their candidate packets and that kind of thing, we've got to be mindful. Well, when should it be that we put together the election timeframe and release this on a media release or whatnot? And who's to say that anybody at the Spotlight's actually going to write anything about it or publish it? So, but these are just things that I want us all to be mindful of because, it's very difficult to do community outreach during a pandemic. And we have no choice. We have no choice but to step up our game. And so we've just really got to be mindful of what that election time frame is so that when we're done celebrating the holidays and we're flipping the calendar over to a new year, we've got to start thinking, okay, what are the publishing dates of the spotlight? What are the, when should we meet as a committee to finalize the election timeline, and so on and so forth. So just be mindful of that. And, we just, we don't want to be all balled up with anxiety about it, but, if we just want to be very, very, very careful and very cautious. And then once those media releases are made up, then we can, definitely use Ty at the Tech and PR committee, because it's really his thing. You definitely want to work with him, and then maybe schedule some posts and I know this is not your thing, Anne, but on a person's Facebook page or a group or organization, not just anybody's like Facebook page, but on a group or organization's Facebook page, you can actually pull up a calendar. You can schedule posts 30 days in advance. And so once you have the content turned into Ty, then I would make some type of calendar to say, okay, on week 1 of February, do a post every other day for 10 days that says pick up the candidate petition packet here and that kind of thing. So we have to put a lot of thought in how we're reaching out to the community, leveraging the technology. So, and this is something that I haven't had my one-on-one with Ty yet, but this is something that I'm going to talk with him about as well, because this past year was just, I think at the time that we began our election timeframe, it coincided with the stay-at-home order, and we were all very shell-shocked at how we were going to do this, and nobody really knew how to deal with it. But 2021 is not going to be, it's not going to take us by surprise in 2021. So we need to do what we can to help generate enthusiasm about the election and about any open seats, and just be willing and ready to use the technology. And by that, I mean, reach out to Ty and mention to him when we got to do these posts and when we got to get the word out. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Let's see, there was something someone else brought up in a one-on-one. Oh, in the candidate packets for the election committee, I know that when I picked mine up both times, I picked them up at the library and I signed something stating I picked one up. Mm-hmm. Is it worth a thought? Is it worth a thought? And this is just something that I think you had left the November CAC meeting a little bit early this month.
Yes.
But I think it might be worth, has it ever come to discussion through the election committee that someone actually signs an acknowledgement that they acknowledge the rules of the election and then turns in that signed acknowledgement form?
They sign specifically that they have picked up a set of rules. Mm-hmm. So the rules apply to everybody and they have them. To me, that pretty much has it covered.
Okay, because
you can say, and I acknowledge that these rules apply to me, but to me, that's a given.
Well, one would surmise that, but I think that that might be.
We can change the language on that and say, and I agree to comply with the rules, but you don't have to agree. Well, if you don't comply with them, you're.
I know, and ignorance of the law is not an excuse to break the law either. And there's just a lot of times people say I didn't know, or I didn't understand that to be the case.
Yeah. Well, and just that signature was a reason why we did not make those petitions available electronically.
Okay.
You had to pick them up. I think the library didn't close down until mid-March. And so most people, I think, had already picked them up before the library closed down. I am hoping that this year, even if we get more of a close down, that the library will still be open, at least, you know, in the minimal way that it's been open for the last, for a while. I found I can't go browse, but other than that, the library is just as functional as it ever was. So, you know, they can still hand out the petitions and do all that stuff.
Okay. And then let's talk a little bit about the pickup protocol, the picking up of the mail-in ballots. Is there any rule that states that the key holder of the post office box shall not be a commissioner in the election rules? Can you remind me? I'm just asking for.
I think that is. I think that it is that the key can be the key when we're doing the two boxes. When we're doing, you have your box, I have my box. Okay. If we're doing that, only the election committee can have control, can have access to that key.
Okay.
And that's the reason to have the two box theory as opposed to the one box theory.
Mm-hmm. And then there's two people of the election committee to go and retrieve those mail-in ballots.
Right. We always do it with two people.
Okay. I want to make sure, just because, you know, I play by the rules, and I tend to hold myself to a higher standard than what the rules predict, because it's just never fun having your integrity questioned. So I always try to take it to that next level. But I just want to make sure that all of that stuff is very transparent and very clear to anyone and everyone. Just because, you know, here we are under, you know, public scrutiny of a national election, and you know there's 12 lawsuits, and there's nothing tangible. There's no tangible evidence there. You know, there's really no founding for them, but there is a large part of our society that still buys in and says, well, you know, there's just, you know, still a large part of the society that says that it's still impending. So we just want to make sure, you know, just to be very, very clear and concise with those instructions. And whenever somebody claims after the fact, I didn't know, I want to make sure that they know, and I want to make sure that the public knows. And you know, the maker of rules, you know, I think should, you know, do everything that they can to make those rules known.
Well, one of the things that we do is on our timesheet, we announce, you know, that we will be picking up mail at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Date. And if you want to be at the post office, fine. We're going to have to keep our 6-foot distance, but other than that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
You can be there, or you can be on the other side of the window. Our mailbox is where you can see it from the window. Have at it.
I've never been one to do that. I just play by the rules and participate, and I trust processes. I trust people. So I just don't have any, you know, I don't have any reason not to trust a community organization made up of volunteers who are here on their own free will and have nothing to gain by cheating. So that's just my own personal unsolicited opinion. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with me and provide me input for this application or processes or anything?
think so. You know, I think we're good right now. It's a wonderful, the committee is made up of wonderful people. We are limited to 5. We're supposed to have 5, no more, no less. We have 5, no more, no less. So, well, that gives you a little bit of flexibility so that you can have 2 people running over to the post office.
Right.
You know, if you have a pool of 5 people, you can do that pretty easily and get somebody who you know, whose schedule will accommodate running over to the post office at 3 o'clock or whatever time it is. So we're pretty good. I would like a little time slot I would like a time slot every month through February. Just to,
I wanted to hear.
Say, this is, you know, this is how far we've gotten. These are the questions we've been struggling with. Do you have any thoughts about them? I don't want to hit anybody cold in February with, here's our new rules. You need to approve these tonight. I know you've never seen them. That's not a good plan.
No, I sincerely, I appreciate that. So, okay. Well, if there's ever anything that, you know, if something slips your mind and something that you think of that maybe should have been provided in your input during this one-on-one, but maybe the dog distracted you or my cat distracted you or whatever, feel free to drop me an email. Okay.
Sure. Will do.
Thank you, Ann, for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.